Welcome to the Mire the Merrier. Today we're going to answer questions about Koh Samui, Thailand that may have come up during episode 4, season 3 of The White Lotus. The channel is the Mire the Merrier. We're a family of 5 that left the United States in August of 2023 for a life-changing adventure for our family in Koh Samui, Thailand. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'm Jacqueline and this is Steve. So the first thing that I thought might be of interest to you is when you take a look at the initial opening scene, you see Jacqueline, who is one of the women who's traveling with her girlfriends to Koh Samui for a women's weekend. And sometimes you think about these scenes and you think, oh, this is just a soundstage somewhere in Hollywood. But in this particular case, where Jacqueline's in the suite and she's talking to her husband, that's actually not a soundstage in Hollywood.
No, it's the Four Seasons Resort in Koh Samui. There's a lot of villas.
So you've been on.
Yes, I've been in one of the villas.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've been on site, and you didn't see like a giant hotel area. There were just villas.
That's what I saw.
So it maybe looks like what it does in the show.
And it looks like a lot. I'm assuming that they all have a private pool attached to them, but that's the villa that I was in. Had a pool attached to it in the front, a little infinity pool, and it was exactly like the room that she was in. Very, very nice.
Yeah, looked really posh. Yeah. So very nice. So then we move on to a scene where Belinda is talking to her son, and he is going to be coming to visit her after his finals are over. And she says, "Hey, just get the shuttle to the hotel, to the resort from the airport." And I will tell you that getting out of the Koh Samui airport is maybe not as easy as some places.
They have a taxi stand right there.
A taxi stand.
Yeah, you can get in the queue and they'll give you a number and bring a taxi around. So it's easy to get out. But the one thing to keep in mind is they don't allow Grab. I think that's, I don't know, does everybody use Grab for drives?
So there's Grab and there's InDrive.
There's no Uber here, but it's similar to Uber.
I think you might be able to go on the app and order a Grab, but I don't think the Grab will come.
Yeah, the taxi company has something going on with the airport, and they frown upon anybody but a taxi picking somebody up at the airport.
Now I will put either up or in the details of the video, we know a driver that has come to pick us up at the airport. He has a Fortuner, which is kind of we all fit in there. It's a 3 rows. If you need something bigger because you have more people, he has I think a couple now.
He's got 2 vans.
A couple of the 11, 10-person vans, whatever they are, so he can pick up a bunch of luggage.
Resorts, and even the smaller boutique resorts will have a shuttle service to pick you up.
And it might be a little more expensive, but it might just be easier. One thing to mention though is, we've done this before where we've met a driver somehow. In the case of Siwat, he gave us a ride one time, and then we hired him to take us for a tour around the island, and then we just held on to his WhatsApp number so that when we move back here. So if you find a driver that you like, you may want to just ask for their phone number and their WhatsApp number so that you can
get a hold of them directly and just use the same person the entire time you're here.
The next part is there is an outdoor shower that we see Tim Ratliff in. I wouldn't doubt that the Four Seasons does have an outdoor shower.
A lot of the places do. And if you're at a beach club, everybody's got not everybody, but there's outdoor showers all over the place.
Okay, but I think we're conflating 2 things.
Yeah.
So one thing is the outdoor shower that you go to take a shower, and the other is when you come off the beach.
Oh, yeah.
When you come off the beach,
it's not private.
It's not private.
You wear your swimsuit.
And you just, rinse your body off, rinse the salt water off to go into the restaurant or into the hotel or whatever. In this particular case, that was his morning shower. And I think we actually did have an outdoor shower when we were in the Maldives. So it's kind of a tropical thing that you do see around. I should have looked this up because I forgot to do
drugs?
so. No.
Oh.
It's we'll talk about that. Again, we're trying to go in order. It's not just the very fancy hotels that would have something like a CCTV. You're going to find it at some restaurants and type of places, because it really and I don't know if you can hear the squealing tires. Somebody's going up the hill by our place. These restaurants, many restaurants that we go to, will end up being just an open air restaurant. And so they don't necessarily even have a front door. And so they'll chain their coolers at night. So that might be
She's talking about a particular restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right. Yeah, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, so, they can't really lock up like a restaurant would be.
Yeah.
In the United States or many other places. So I think that might be part of the reason they might have CCTV too. And then something that we haven't mentioned before, but I think is kind of interesting. We went to dinner with some friends, specifically with some Thai friends, and there was a lot of discussion about the White Lotus when we were there.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of the things that we found out is the actress who played Mook is a famous...
She's She's Thai, but she was part of Korean pop band,
girl band
called Blackpink.
Yeah. So she's very famous in
Yeah.
Thailand. We see her on commercials
Yeah,
here
when you go see her.
quite a bit. So she's very famous. So she's not just a Thai actress. She's also
Yeah. But I think the band is separated now.
so Blackpink is no longer.
I think.
But if you'd heard of it, if you were a big fan
Yeah.
of it's K-pop, right?
Yeah, I think
okay, then you might know her from that. And if she seemed familiar, then that might be why. All right, and then moving into kind of the next thing, we have just seen Mr. Ratliff in the shower, and now he's come out, and he's very nice robe, very nice White Lotus robe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and of course, at the Four Seasons, you have nice robes and a lot of the higher
Just like you'd expect at every Four Seasons,
at every
yeah.
Four Seasons, Marriott properties, things like that. But the thing in Thailand is a lot of the hotels that aren't chains, that aren't super fancy, you'll find a robe in the closet.
Or even
not as nice as the Four Seasons robes, but
yeah. But so I mean, even like if you're in a courtyard in Chicago, you're not going to get a robe.
No.
But if you're in a courtyard in Bangkok, you're going to get a robe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of, I mean, it's just one of those things where it is sort of something that is very very typical to have here, even at a place that's not necessarily a fancy resort. All right. So then the next thing is, this is where the pharmaceuticals come into play. So Victoria Ratliff has been, what is the word you used before?
popping pills.
Popping pills. The whole time she's been there, she apparently struggles with some anxiety, and so she has lorazepam. And by this point, you realize that her husband is having some real anxiety himself. So he's been sneaking some lorazepam from her. So I thought, I'm going to look that up because I wanted to know if that is going to be an issue. So I did look it up. If you are planning on traveling with any pharmaceuticals to Thailand, what I would suggest is that you do just a quick Google search that talks about, to say, hey, can I bring lorazepam to Thailand? And I did that, and it turns out you can bring that particular pharmaceutical to Thailand. You can only bring a 30-day supply, and you will have to have some kind of a note from your doctor or something from the prescription pad or something like that.
They say that. I mean, did you see that you have to have a note? Okay. Nobody's ever checked for. I mean, I'm not saying you don't need to have it.
Right.
That's part of the requirement, but
so if they see that you have this, I mean, people aren't going through your bags when you walk in the door.
All your...
But if for whatever reason your bag did get checked and they did see this, now there are some pharmaceuticals that are perfectly legal in other countries that are not legal at all, regardless of having a note from your doctor in Thailand. And I think we looked up some of those. And
Adderall or anything of that family, amphetamine salts.
Salts.
That's one of them. That is.
So that's pretty prevalent for folks with ADHD. So,
but I think you can bring. Oh no, you can't even bring a 2-week supply.
It says you cannot bring in. You cannot get permission to bring that in. It is not legal at all. So we've been really interested in this thing going on with Chelsea and Rick. There's a lot of, I keep using the term angst. Rick is very stressed all the time about all the things that are going on in his life. Chelsea is trying to, help him through those things. And they're talking about the fact that he's going to fly up to Bangkok.
There's like 22 flights a day to Bangkok.
That's just to the one airport.
But it's
Bangkok.
not, when he says fly up to Bangkok, it's not a long like I've got to fly up to Bangkok. It's a 45-minute flight.
Super easy to do. The airport here in Koh Samui is very easy to get in and out of, no problem. And there is now, well, not that it matters to everybody, and I don't think it mattered to Rick, but there is a train that actually goes from Suvarnabhumi Airport into the downtown area. You can take.
Oh yeah, the rail link.
The rail link,
in Bangkok.
Airport rail link is what it's called. You can take it right from the airport if you want. We do, so that we don't have to deal with the traffic.
Yeah, the traffic is terrible. You jump on the train and it costs next to nothing.
I want to say 60 baht or something like that.
Yeah.
So 60 baht would be like $1.80.
And it takes you all the way down, and you can transfer to the BTS is the city line and the MRT, and you can transfer to those at a couple stops along the rail link, and then the rail link goes to that and then turns around and goes back to the airport. But it's quick, about half an hour, 45 minutes.
I don't even know.
Versus sitting in a taxi in traffic. So.
But you have all your bags, and if you're not comfortable with public transportation, we kind of like looking at public transportation anytime we're in a different city. So the kids are even good at it.
Getting way off topic, but you can actually, if you're just going to go into the city for a little bit, a couple days, and you don't want to haul all of your luggage down there, as you go to the rail link, there's a luggage storage place, and it's like $3 a day.
So if you go down to kind of the basement of the airport where the rail link comes out, if you were heading down into the rail link and you just go sort of to the left. It's 100 baht a day, as Steve said, and it's pretty easy to store your luggage. So then we see the rat lifts are going to enjoy this yacht. They're going out
to the full moon party. Oh no!
No.
Yeah.
They're just going to take a little trip around the island, and you see this marina that they're heading off to, and there are giant boats, yachts all over this marina. And we have not been everywhere in Koh Samui, but it's a small island, and so I can tell you that we don't know that marina actually does exist on Koh Samui. We have never seen anything like that. Now,
that's not to say there isn't one.
You always say that's not to say there isn't one. There was a lot of a prologue there to say that it could still exist. So some of the filming for The White Lotus was done on Phuket. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing maybe those marinas are from Phuket. We don't know that for sure, but we have never seen that marina here. And then there is this, they're walking on, everyone's getting on this beautiful yacht, and there is this staff, and the staff is meeting people as they walk on, and they're handing everyone something, and at first it may not be as clear, but it's a little cool towel. Mm-hmm. And there are restaurants when you arrive in Koh Samui that will hand you a cool towel when you sit down for your meal. And weirdly, I was going to mention this too, not a cool towel, but if you go into the McDonald's or KFC here or a lot of other places around Thailand, there's actually just a place to wash your hands right there kind of in the middle of the restaurant. So it's not like you have to go to the washroom. You could
there's
just,
no napkins either.
Napkins.
Nothing to dry.
You might want to just keep some extra. So there's no paper towels to dry your hands. And they give you very few napkins here in Thailand. I think people are just neater eating than we are as the Myers. So, but anyway, cool towels. As you get on the plane, very typical. Sometimes it's just a little wet, wipe, but very typical to have.
It's hot here.
No, it is. Yeah, it's hot here almost all of the time. And right now we're here, and it's May. We're in May, and it has been comfortably hot.
Yesterday was 97 Fahrenheit.
Was it?
Yes.
I guess I didn't leave the house.
Oh, I'm sorry, 94.
94 Fahrenheit. That is quite hot. No, we typically get a breeze. Mm-hmm. So that does help. But the other thing that I think is important to note is when it's 94 in Bangkok, I feel like it's hotter. And I think there might be two reasons for that. One is just the concrete holds.
Yeah, there's no breeze.
And there's not going to be a breeze like there is here. So 94 here. Again, this is all Fahrenheit. Sorry for the rest of the world.
This isn't White Lotus related.
I know, but again,
I know we get off track. Okay.
The whole point is questions that you may have had once you watch The White Lotus. This is not all right, so now, I don't think we're going to be able to put the video up. So there is a portion of this video where you see the three women and they showing up, and they are at they think that it's a resort for a budget resort for retired people. Yeah, for old retired people. Yeah. And that also was filmed here on Koh Samui. Where was that?
Anantara, at the Anantara Resort.
Okay, so that is on the
Boput
on the north side of the island. So it's a lovely pool.
I spent like 9 hours in that pool.
So if you watch the video and you see the woman that's just the back of her head, and she's got a giant hat on, and she's talking to some
She's stretching.
some old man in the pool.
The old man in the pool is me.
He's the old man. He's the old retired guy in the pool. So then, so that was Steve's claim to fame. There's a very clear picture of him in episode 4, season 3 of The White Lotus. You find at some point that they're on this beautiful yacht, and there's a bartender, and he's serving drinks, and I see Victoria Ratliff, and she's got this glass of white wine, and you can tell how chilled it is, and I think, well, that is just not realistic at all.
On a yacht, it probably is.
For the first
5 minutes.
5 minutes. We'll go as many, maybe as many as 5 minutes.
Things get hot quickly.
Yeah, white wine, you absolutely can drink it here if you're going to keep it cold for any period of time. And remember, most restaurants are open air. You're probably going to want to put some ice in it. Red wine is actually served chilled. I even put ice in my red wine because I don't like it to be hot. So if you were served a beer, which they are being served beers, you would most likely have, this is where we forgot to get this again.
A big koozie?
A big koozie in that with your beer would be served in. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and grab them. But this is a koozie. We see these a lot. They're the foamy
That's what
kind.
we call them from the Midwest.
Oh, yes.
A koozie.
I know people from the East Coast who call them gazinta, because your beer gazinta it. But lots of different names for it. But yeah, very typical for your beer to be served in something like this.
And you'll find that a lot of people drink their beer on ice here.
Yeah.
Because it gets hot. Even in one of these, it doesn't take very long.
They all jump in something called a songta.
Yeah.
Here, they're all red or burgundy.
Little red pickups.
We call them little red trucks.
Yeah.
And you go to the driver up front, and you tell them where you want to go. If it's a place that's a little more obscure, you may want to have it on your phone. On your Google Maps, and just show them where it is. Like when we wanted to go to the kids' school, that's not, I just had it open on Google Maps, and he's, you say, well, I want to pay 200 baht to go there, and they might say, okay, but generally they won't. They'll say, no, 300 baht.
They're going to start with the highest price, and if you just say yes, they'll usually come down.
I would say, try to make an offer first, and don't make it the top price that you're willing to pay. But it's just a little more of an obscure place.
Yeah.
It was kind of a haul. So he took us. So we ended up going to the kids' school the other day. We were driving to the school. I had hit a pothole earlier in the day, and I thought maybe there was something wrong with the car. So Steve and I both started driving it down the hill, and we realized when someone flagged us down.
Some guy on a bike
the ring
told me to
road.
look at my tire.
Yeah.
And I knew it might be off.
It didn't feel that funny, but I mean, it's a Fortuner, and I hit a pothole, and it broke something. We don't know exactly what. The receipt
I can't
for
read
the repair.
The receipt's in Thai, and I can't.
But it was a reasonable fix.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we just pulled over to the side of the road, kind of parked by the side of the road, which is very typical to do here in Koh Samui. And we jumped out, and I kind of looked at maybe getting a grab. But then I looked, and sure enough, I mean, there were three, one from the wrong direction and two from the right direction, little red trucks or songtas. So anyway, he picked us up. He took us to the kids' school. And then we realized, that we needed to go to the rental car place. Steve texted them, let them know what was going on with the car. The guy...
you said 100 baht? Will you wait for us at school while we get our kids and then take us there? 100 baht?
No, I think I said, so it was 300 baht to get to school. And then I said, can I give you 200 baht to go to Outrigger, which is kind of where we use Good Drive Rental. They've been very fair to us. And so we ended up just going back there. He dropped us off. The folks at Good Drive Rental gave us a car to use until it was fixed, and so that worked out. That was fine. We had it back in just a day or two.
So that's the story of Songtas.
That's the story of Songtas.
Long story.
The long story. So the fact of the matter is, you can just pick one up. And in Koh Samui, they're not they're not blue, they're red. And this one that had all the fancy lights and stuff that looked like a discotheque going on, that doesn't happen in Koh Samui either. At least not.
Excellent use of the word discotheque.
Yeah. So then these women, they find themselves into some little kind of more maybe smaller street, a soy area that has some businesses going on. and they get out of the Songta, and they understand that there is some kind of a holiday. What do they call it?
Songkran holiday. Yeah.
Well, so it turns out that it is Songkran, the day that they're there in Koh Samui. Now, Songkran, I looked this up just to verify it, is on April 13th every year. So if you would like to come to Thailand, and you can come on April 13th, and I think this is going to be true anywhere in Thailand. We've only been to Songkran on Koh Samui.
Yeah, it's a Chiang Mai.
But it is amazing. It is, people have water guns, and I'll put I think I should be able to put a little video over the top.
It's a big water fight.
Big water fight. So in this particular case, sometimes we see people that are they're on their motorbikes, they're heading to work, we think, because they've got on some kind of a rain suit, right? And so if they don't look like they're playing, if they don't have a gun, we won't shoot
most
them.
people
And I don't think people generally
So
would.
the scene where the kids are chasing them around, I don't know, maybe the kids would do that, but I don't think.
Right.
I don't think that happens a lot. I think if you're not playing, people can tell and they leave you alone.
Right.
But otherwise, you're going to get soaked.
But I think you looked this up. So she did tousle the hair of one of the children.
And that's why.
Well, we think perhaps that's why the story goes this way.
Well,
so
maybe
in
not,
Thailand,
nobody knows. That's not common knowledge.
But you looked it up.
Yeah.
So they say when you're coming to Thailand that you should not tousle or pat a child on the head because anybody's head. Well, I guess you're not going to do it to a grown-up in most cases anyway. But you shouldn't pat people on the head. So don't do that. And perhaps that's the storyline on why these children were chasing her around. Now, I will tell you that we do all over Asia. We get quite a few looks, especially with Margaret, because her hair is kind of a goldeny color.
And it's long and straight.
And it's long. Yeah. And we will sometimes see people kind of clandestinely reaching over and just touching her hair, I think just to see what it's like. Mm-hmm. And even this server at our favorite restaurant, who's been our server.
Yeah, he sees us every week.
Well, not every week, but I mean,
almost,
we're there a lot more recently. Yeah. But he did ask permission the other day to touch her hair.
He said, "Can I touch her hair?"
And so next time we'll remember that Margaret's the one that's supposed to answer the question, as she's old enough to make those decisions for herself. But it happens to her all of the time, and it does happen to Janie too. Janie's hair is kind of curly and a little bit reddish.
It doesn't happen to me at all.
It doesn't happen to you, and it doesn't happen to me, but I think with the children. So anyway, that might be the other thing. And then the last point, I think, two more points maybe to make is there is this extradition agreement we've talked about that exists between the United States and Thailand. And it begs the question, why does Gary... Because right now we know that Belinda is suspicious of Gary because she thinks perhaps Gary had killed her friend. Tanya. It was her name. Yeah. And so he's wanted for questioning, I think, in Italy and the United States. But there are places that Gary certainly could have gone if he wanted to be in a country where there was no extradition agreement between the United States. And then we see Rick and Chelsea are talking, and he's saying, I have to go, I cannot miss my flight to Bangkok. And the point of that is, the point I wanted to make is, you can absolutely miss your flight to Bangkok because, as Steve mentioned, between Koh Samui and Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok, there are 22 flights a day.
And there is no extradition agreement between Italy and Thailand. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay. So the Italian police wouldn't be able to extradite him, but if the American police wanted to, because she's an American citizen, right? They could do some extradition. So, but again, getting back to Rick and Chelsea, as I mentioned, if you missed your flight, unless it's the last flight of the day, which I don't think it was, it's not that big a deal if you miss your flight. Obviously, you're going to have to pay for missing the flight, depending on what kind of ticket you have and all of that. I don't think Rick is too worried about $150 or whatever the cost of that particular ticket is. So he really isn't going to be too worried about that. Now, the other thing that I will say, at the very end, you see him at the Koh Samui Airport, and that is, in fact, the real Koh Samui Airport. So it's beautiful. It's all open air. You're basically under this kind of conical... roof pavilion. Excellent use of the word pavilion. And then you get on a little trolley, and the trolley takes you over to your plane, and then you walk up the steps in order to get onto the plane. There are no jetways in Koh Samui.
How many gates are there? 2?
No.
There's
No.
2 domestic and
No. I think there are 4. There are at least 4 gates, I know for sure.
international. and
But there are some international gates. You can fly in from Singapore. You can fly out to Singapore. I know for sure. I don't remember where else you can fly to direct from Koh Samui, but there definitely are international gates that you can come into. So, so it's a very cool airport. It is a little more expensive to fly into Koh Samui. So those are the answers to the questions that we thought you might have after watching this particular episode. We'll be back with episode 5 just as soon as I can get this put away. And again, consider subscribing to the channel, and thanks for watching.